JavaScript is a programming language we can use to make a website interactive. When we search something on Google or click on a link, our website changes. That's what JavaScript allows us to do. First, we'll use Sublime to create an index. HTML file with the usual boilerplate information will also create a quick button here in our body tag. Then, we'll create a JS folder and put a file named script.js inside of it. This name is convention. Next, we'll link the JS file to our code just like we did to our CSS and Bootstrap framework. In previous tutorials, it will go inside our head tag.
And now, we have a JavaScript. Nothing will appear different as of yet, but we are set up and ready to code. Now, let's say we wanted to surprise of our friend with a hidden message. When they first load, the screen only appear the click button. But if they click the button, the hidden message will reveal itself. So first, let's make this hidden message, and we'll add a little CSS so that it is hidden at first. Now, refreshing the page, we see that although we have written this element in code, it is hidden because we set the display property to none.
All we need to do is to write the JavaScript so that when we click the button, the message is built. So we'll go to our script and write the function. To create a function, we will write the keyword function and then the name of the function. Here it's build message. If we needed to add parameters to the function, then we would put those in between the parentheses. But we don't need to worry about that right now, so we won't put anything inside of it. Then we can add the body to our function. What it will actually do when build message is called, inside our function, we'll access the variable document or the HTML document and then get the element with the ID hidden message. Next, we will access this element style, in other words, its CSS, and set its display property to the value block. Now, we have this function build message, but it is not connected to the button just yet. Going back to our HTML, we will add the onClick attribute to our button and give it the value of the build message. This basically says, go run the build message function when this button is clicked.
Refreshing the page. Let's test this out. When we click the button, the message is displayed. We just use JavaScript to manipulate the value of the display property, but this can work for almost and property in CSS. We can use JavaScript to change images or the color of the background of whatever based on what we user does. While this may seem cool, CSS manipulation isn't the only thing JavaScript can do. We could also add a countdown to this vacation so that each time the user pressed the countdown button, the vacation date would draw closer. Going back to the code, we'll add the button with the ID countdown button and the on-click action, countdown, close and open parentheses. Next, we'll create a div and put this style and ID attributes from the paragraph on the div so that the message and countdown are both hidden.
Going over to the JavaScript to make the countdown work, we'll write our keyword function and name the function parameters and move on to the implementation of our method. We'll create a variable with the keyword var and name it current val. Its value will be text to the element with ID countdown button, which can be retrieved using the inner HTML property. Then we'll have another variable called newVal and give it to the value of the current val -1. This is how we count down. Next, we'll set the text of the countdown button to the new value by grabbing it with getElementById function and setting its inner HTML property to newVal. This will give us countdown and refreshing the page. We have our countdown button. However, you might notice that sometimes our countdown goes below 0. To prevent this, we can add something called if statement. Basically, we'll say that the default new value for the button is 0, but if the current value of the button is 1 or higher, then we'll subtract countdown 1 and let the new value of the button. Otherwise, the value of the button will be 0, the default value. Refreshing the page, now we have the countdown that makes sense and doesn't go below 0. That's an introduction to JavaScript and how it can make your websites interactive. Here, we wrote vanilla JavaScript, meaning it did not focus on and did not use extra libraries in the code. Next time, we learn about JavaScript library, jQuery, and how it can make things a bit easier for you in creating a JavaScript. So, thank you for listening.